Hello, welcome to the Resume and Cover Letter Workshop. My name is Olivia Sopernaut. I'm one of the career planners for the McHenry County Workforce Network. I'm going to be talking about the different kinds of resumes you can use in your job search, as well as how to organize a cover letter. So what makes an effective resume? A good resume should demonstrate your skills and capabilities that an employer would value about you. It should direct the reader to the attention quickly, and it should make the employer want to learn more about you. Usually employers spend less than 10 seconds on your resume, so you want to make sure to explain who you are, what you're looking for, how many years of experience you have, and what you can offer the company. The first thing you want to do in organizing your resume is to identify your audience. So figure out what profession or industry you are writing the resume for and tailor your resume based on that. If you're not sure and you're still doing career exploration, think about the type of work that you would like to do. A resume should reflect that work with you being hands-on, or you working in an office type setting, doing customer service. It should reflect who you are and the kind of work that you want to do. You may have several different kinds of resumes targeting several industries as well, and you would want to use a functional resume for that format, which I will talk about. Another thing you want to do when you're first putting your resume together is to gather all of the information. So there's a lot of information that goes into your resume. It shouldn't include your entire work history though. It should only go back about 10 years unless you've worked for the same employer for an extended period of time, in which case you can add an additional work history section to show those job titles and what your responsibilities were. But you want to ultimately include the cities of your past employer, the dates of employment, including the month and the year, your past job titles, which should be bolded so that it captures the employer's attention. Your job duties should be about 3 to 7 bullets depending on how long you worked for each employer, as well as your past education, any recent training you've gotten, any recent certificates. And then you also want to have your summary or your objective statement, which is a brief summary of who you are and what you're looking for at the very beginning of the resume. So there are 3 different kinds of resumes you can have. There's a chronological resume, which is best for those who have had consistent work history and you are applying for jobs related to job titles you've previously worked. If you're applying for project management roles and you've been a project manager, that's when you would generally use a chronological format. You would use a functional skills format if you are changing to a new career field. So if you've worked in manufacturing and you're looking to transition to IT, you want to focus on what skills are transferable there. So instead of focusing so much on the dates of employment and what you did, you're more going to focus on those transferable skills relating to IT. That's not based on dates, so you're going to pick about 3 or 4 main skill sets you have, and you're going to focus on those areas. Generally, for a functional format, you don't have dates listed. Functional formats are also good for people that have large gaps in employment. So if you were a stay-at-home mom and you didn't work for a certain number of years, if you were taking care of a sick family member, if you were incarcerated, if you were underemployed for whatever reason, a functional format may be the better option for you. And then there's the combination. So that's best for mixing your relevant skills and similar work experience. So it's just a combination of chronological and functional. First, I'm going to go over a few examples of chronological resumes and how to format them. Next, I'll go over a few examples of functional resumes and how to format them. So there are a few different sites that you can use to make sure you're targeting your resume appropriately. The first one is called jobscan.co, and then the second one is called theprofessional.me. With JobScan, it's not a free service after so many scans, so that's why I'm giving you the professional.me as well, because you do get unlimited scans, and they're set up very similarly. So what they do is help you target your resume for the applicant tracking system. So what you would do is when you would log into either of these, you'll see one text box where you can paste your resume and another text box where you can paste the job ad. So what it does is it scans both of them for words that match. So it's scanning for keywords. So words like project, words like manufacturing, words like time and management, words like computer skills, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all the things that an employer is looking for in a candidate. So it's going to match you based on percentage. So how many keywords in your resume match to that job ad? And you want to get at about an 80% match rate to be considered for an in-person interview. So on the employer's end, they're looking at pretty much a list of people that have applied for the jobs that they have posted. And if you are a match based on your keywords, you're going to be higher up on that list. Whereas if you don't go in and target your resume for this job, meaning you don't go in and incorporate these keywords as many times as they appear in the job, you might not even be seen by the employer. A lot of the time when people are applying for jobs and they tell me that they're submitting application after application and they're not hearing back from anybody, this is a lot of the time the disconnect. So you want to make sure that you are doing this. This system is so black and white. In the job ad, if the word project appears 8 times, in your resume it appears once. What you want to do is take that word project and incorporate it into your resume 7 more times. So you're 8 for 8, and that's going to help improve your match percent rating. Then there's another website called Wordle.net. That's more for people who are visual learners. So if you want to paste the job ad into the Wordle cloud generator, what it does is it will show you the words that repeat larger. So you're going to see small, medium, and large words. The ones that repeat the most frequently are those important keywords. That's what you can pull and incorporate in your resume. Then a few other things you want to make sure to save in a .doc format or .docx. I've also had people tell me that it's better to save as a PDF, just because when employers open your resume on their end, you want to make sure the information doesn't get jumbled. If it's saved in the PDF, that's not going to happen. You also want to use caps. You want to bold your job titles so that the employer's attention goes directly to what you have done. You want to underline for each header. So for professional experience, you can underline that, or your objective and summary statement, that would be underlined. Your education, your technical skills, those should all be underlined. If you have an additional work history section, that would be underlined as well. If you have employment that's older than 10 years and still pertains to the positions you're applying for. You also want to make sure to have bullets, so it's easy to read what you did for each employer, and make sure to capture the employer's attention. But you also want to avoid a few things. So remember that the applicant tracking system is very to the point. It can't read pictures, it can't read unusual fonts, it can't read color, it can't read graphics. So make sure to just use your regular bullet points. Don't use check marks, don't use stars, don't have a pink font on your resume, don't insert tables or anything like that. Just make sure it's very simplified so that it can get processed. Make sure to proofread. So check to make sure there are no spelling, grammar, or punctuation errors using spell check on Word, or having somebody else review your resume before you submit it. Make sure the resume is clear and concise. Make sure you use appropriate font size, so it should be about 11-12 Times New Roman font. Make sure your formatting is good. Make sure it's easy to read. Blank space to allow for easy reading so the employer can see what you did without having to search your whole resume because there's too much going on. And make sure your skills and accomplishments listed are relevant to what the employer is looking for. Next, I will give you a few examples of cover letters and how to target them. So the purpose of a cover letter is really to convey who you are as a person and explain to the employer why you think you're the best fit for the job. This is allowing you to do something your resume might not. Your resume is more a list of what you've done. It doesn't really show your personality. So although a lot of the time employers say a cover letter is optional, it could be good to still write one and submit it along with your application. Taking the time to actually write it might show your work ethic to the employer, so they might choose you over somebody that didn't take the time to write it. Guidelines for writing your cover letter. You want to make sure to keep it professional in language and tone. You only want to focus on what pertains to the job and what you can offer the employer or the company. You want to use traditional business letter formatting, which you'll see in the examples I included. This would only be if you sent it through the mail. A lot of the time, the cover letter is just in a little text box you're submitting with your application. So it's not really going to look like this, but you can still copy the main text after Dear Ms. or hiring manager, whoever you're addressing it to, and then including the actual letter there along with sincerely and your name. So that's generally what you would include in like a text box format. And then you're not always going to have the contact information for the hiring manager. So if you do, that's great. Definitely address it to them directly. But if you do have to say, Dear hiring manager, that is okay, because we understand we don't always know that. A couple more do's and don'ts for cover letters. You want to make sure to highlight your fit with keywords from the job description. So just like we talked about targeting your resume, you're going to incorporate those keywords into your cover letter as well. You want to research the company. So make sure to go on the company website. Make sure to explain in the cover letter how you learned of the job ad and why you want to work for this company. You want to give specific examples to demonstrate your skill sets. So what they're looking for, make them understand that that's who you are and that's what you can bring to the table. You want to stress your accomplishments over your job daily duties. So if you can give succinct examples, if you can quantify what you did, if you can say you were recognized for something, if you saved the company money, if you met a specific deadline, if you made sure a customer walked away happy, you want to stress those specific accomplishments. And then also make sure to proofread before sending. And then as far as don'ts go, you want to make sure that your cover letter doesn't exceed 2 pages. It should generally be about 3 smaller paragraphs. So you have your introductory, your middle, and then your concluding paragraph. You don't just want to copy and paste your resume. That's not the point of a cover letter. The employer can already see your resume, so your cover letter should really be personalized. And you can pull the information from your resume, but make sure to put that in your own words. You shouldn't just see bullet points copied and pasted. And don't just send a generic cover letter. You want to make sure to target it for every position you're submitting it for. So make sure that it's addressed to each employer individually. Make sure you say why you're interested in working for that specific employer, and then cater all your job duties for that job. This is the basic layout for a cover letter. So we talked about having those 3 paragraphs. You'll have your introduction, where you're talking about the position you're applying for, how you heard about it, why you're interested in that job or company, and then what brief skill sets you have that make you qualified. In the middle paragraph, that's really the meat and potatoes, where you're identifying your experiences and your skills and how you meet the qualifications of the position. So use the job description to help guide and tailor this section. You don't have to discuss every experience on your resume. Just make sure you pick the main points the employer is looking for you to meet. So the required qualifications, focus on that from the job ad. And use those specific examples. Quantify what you did. There's a method called the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. focus on that and you'll have all that information covered. And then in the last paragraph, that's where you're going to wrap up. You're going to summarize and restate your interest in the company. You're going to give them your contact information. You're going to indicate what the next steps are going to be, or ask them or thank them. Thank you so much for taking the time to look over my qualifications. I look forward to hearing from you soon. And then give them your email, give them your phone number, and you can give them your LinkedIn URL as well.